Donald Trump is having a terrible Sunday morning. He's ranting and raving like a lunatic, attacking the United States Winter Olympics team. Here's what he just posted moments ago. U.S. Olympic skier Hunter Hess, a real loser, says he doesn't represent his country in the current Winter Olympics. If that's the case, he shouldn't have tried out for the team, and it's too bad he's on it. Very hard to root for someone like this. Make America great again. So as Hunter Hess is out there competing, the President of the United States is attacking him. How petty, how Trumpian. Just so you can see what Hunter Hess said, he's a freestyle skier. Here was the statement that he made, and he was referring to ICE and Border Patrol, Gestapo killing people in this country, the terrorizing of the migrant community, and just the attacks on the international community by the United States. Watch what he had to say here. Let's play this clip.
It brings up mixed emotions to represent the U.S. right now, I think. It's a little hard. There's obviously a lot going on that I'm not the biggest fan of, and I think a lot of people aren't. If it aligns with my moral values, I feel like I'm representing it. Just because I'm wearing the flag doesn't mean I represent everything that's going on in the U.S. So yeah, I just kind of want to do it for my friends and my family and the people that support me getting here.
Now, Donald Trump is also having a awful Sunday morning as his cover-up of the Epstein files is backfiring in his face. We're now learning that Ghislaine Maxwell is indeed going to be taking the Fifth Amendment to each and every question during her deposition tomorrow. Ghislaine Maxwell is set to be deposed by the House Oversight Committee after delaying that testimony, saying that she had to wait for the United States Supreme Court to make a ruling on her appeal. Otherwise, she would have to invoke the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination because she thought the Supreme Court was going to help her get off. The Supreme Court ruled against her many months ago, but she still intends to invoke the Fifth Amendment against self-incrimination because let's just face it, we believe that that was the deal that she made with the Trump regime and Todd Blanche when she spoke with Blanche several months back, and she was willing to speak with Blanche in order to say things that Donald Trump wanted her to say in order for her to move from the Tallahassee maximum security facility where she should be rotting because she's a convicted child sex trafficker, and they moved her to basically club fed and give her VIP treatment at this Camp Bryant minimum security facility in Texas, where she's technically not allowed to even be there because she's a convicted child sex trafficker who are not allowed to be in minimum security facilities. But Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna is out with a letter this morning exposing what Trump and MAGA and James Comer from the House Oversight Committee are doing in trying to cover this up. Let me read for you the letter that the MeidasTouch Network exclusively broke moments ago. This is from Democratic Congressmember Ro Khanna. Of course, he's the Congressmember who is behind the Epstein Transparency Act. He and Thomas Massie fought to get the Epstein files released. Here's what he had to write. Dear Chairman Comer, he's sending this to the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. That's where this deposition of Ghislaine is going to be taking place on Monday, tomorrow. Dear Chairman Comer, it is my understanding that Miss Ghislaine Maxwell intends to invoke her Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and decline to answer all substantive questions at her upcoming deposition before the House Oversight Committee. This position appears inconsistent with Miss Maxwell's prior conduct, as she did not invoke the Fifth Amendment when she previously met with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche to discuss substantially similar subject matter. Just pause there for a second. Again, just to remind you, Todd Blanche was Donald Trump's former criminal defense attorney in the case where Trump was found guilty of 34 felony counts. Trump then appointed his criminal defense attorney to be the number 2 at the Department of Justice, the deputy AG, and then Trump sent Blanche to meet with Ghislaine Maxwell so that she could say nice things about Trump. We know that she's lied about everything because we've seen what's in the Epstein files, and now she's refusing to testify before Congress on the same or similar subject matter. Ro Khanna goes on to say, I understand that Miss Maxwell intends to assert this privilege on a blanket basis by reading a prepared statement at the outset of the deposition and refusing to permit members to question her individually through counsel, rather than invoking the privilege on a question-by-question basis. Accordingly, for the sake of clarity, I am submitting this letter the questions I intend to ask at Ms. Maxwell's deposition and request confirmation from the chair as to whether she intends to invoke the Fifth Amendment in response to the following questions. So here's what Ghislaine Maxwell refuses to answer. She's invoking her Fifth Amendment rights as to these questions. On December 17, 2025, you filed a habeas corpus petition stating that 4 named co-conspirators and 25 men who entered into secret settlements were not indicted as part of the investigation. Is that statement accurate? 2. Who are the 4 co-conspirators of the 25 men other than Jeffrey Epstein who sexually abused minors at Epstein's Island, his New Mexico ranch, or his New York residence, and why do you believe they were not indicted? 3. What information, evidence, or personal knowledge do you have regarding why these individuals were not charged or prosecuted by federal authorities? 4. It is well documented that you, President Donald Trump, and Mr. Epstein had a social relationship, and there are several photographs of you together. Did you or Mr. Epstein ever arrange, facilitate, or provide access to underage girls to President Trump? 5. After President Trump publicly stated that he would look at a possible pardon for you, did you or anyone acting on your behalf have any discussions with him or his representatives about a pardon or reduced sentence in exchange for your silence? 6. What client lists or records did you or Mr. Epstein maintain that document the identities of clients or associates? 7. Please identify any foreign governments or intelligence services, including those associated with Russia and Israel, that Mr. Epstein shared information with or otherwise acted on behalf of, and describe the nature and purpose of any such relationships. To avoid any such doubt about the scope of Ms. Maxwell's Fifth Amendment claim, please confirm that Ms. Maxwell intends to invoke the Fifth Amendment on these questions. Further, I request this document be moved into the official record at the start of Ms. Maxwell's deposition. Signed, Ro Khanna, Member of Congress. So she will invoke the Fifth on all of those questions and not answer those questions. Why would she not answer those questions? You should be able to answer that fairly easily. Now, at the same time that Donald Trump and MAGA are involved in this massive cover-up here, Morgan McSweeney, the chief of staff to Prime Minister Keir Starmer of Britain, resigned under pressure over his role in appointing Peter Mandelson, a friend of Jeffrey Epstein, as ambassador to the United States. Morgan McSweeney resigned after there was all this outrage in the UK that anybody who's associated with Epstein through the former ambassador Peter Mandelson to the United States needs to go. Mandelson needs to go. Anyone associated with Mandelson needs to go. And Prime Minister Keir Starmer is under fire right now. He still has a big majority in Parliament, and the next elections aren't set to take place really until 2029. But there's a lot of pressure on Keir Starmer now as well, and he's admitted that things went wrong in the vetting of the ambassador to the United States who knew Epstein. Just think about how they're handling it in the UK versus how it's being handled here in the United States, where literally the center of the cabal is here. I mean, Trump says Epstein's a great guy who likes girls on the younger side, or Trump says he inspects girls naked at his beauty pageants because when you own beauty pageants, you get to inspect girls non-consensually, Trump said. I mean, he's describing sexual assault. I mean, Trump says he grabs women by their vaginas because when you're rich, you get away with it. And these are statements that have been made from Trump has been found liable in federal court for sexual assault. Let me just repeat that again. Trump is found liable by a federal jury in a civil case for sexual assault. And when Donald Trump had the opportunity to testify in that case, he ran away and was in like Scotland talking about his golf courses and did not show up to testify. Let's just be clear about what the undisputed facts are. Thomas Massey was talking about Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick's Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, who we now know definitively lied when he said he only talked to Jeffrey Epstein once in 2005 and was so gross after he purchased Epstein's townhouse in 2005. And they were neighbors because Epstein owned the adjacent townhouse as well. And Howard Lutnick, Trump's Commerce Secretary, said, I've never talked to Epstein after this incident. After I went to his house once, he was a gross guy. I never talked to him again. Turns out they were like business associates on a deal that Lutnick brought his kids to the island. There's like emails of like Lutnick saying, I have kids who are like 12, 9, let's bring them to the island. And then there was seems to be emails confirming that he was at the island. Howard Lutnick needs to go. This is such a rotten, evil regime, though, where these people who are engaged in the sickest acts imaginable, not only do they not go, they get rewarded for it. This is sick stuff. I want you to watch this morning with Thomas Massie, the other co-author, the other co-lead on the Epstein Transparency Act. Here's what he had to say about Massie. Play this clip.
Trump's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said that he and his wife decided around 2005 to cut ties with Jeffrey Epstein. But the latest release shows that there was some correspondence after that, even after Epstein pleaded guilty to sex crimes in 2008. What questions do you have about Lutnick's ties to Epstein, and should he come before Congress and testify?
No, he should just resign. I mean, there are 3 people in Great Britain that have resigned in politics. The ambassador from Great Britain to the United States, the prince lost his title for less than what we've seen Howard Lutnick lie about. Look, Howard Lutnick clearly went to the island, if we believe what's in these files. He was in business with Jeffrey Epstein. And this was many years after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted, lightly sentenced, but was convicted for sexual crimes. So he's got a lot to answer for, but really he should make life easier on the president, frankly, and just resign. If this were Great Britain, he'd already be gone.
And just for the record, the Commerce Department says that he had limited interactions with Mr. Epstein in the presence of his wife, has never been accused of wrongdoing. I do want to ask you about Trump, because
I just think it's important, too, though, that we're getting accurate information from the media. And fortunately, with the Epstein files, it's broken through and people understand what's happening here. But I want to give you 2 examples to show you how I think right-wing media is brainwashing kind of Trump and MAGA supporters into not getting the truth. So to take a look at just these 2 stories. Story number 1, Trump says Georgia FBI raid will determine true winner of state in 2020. This is a big story by right-wing media. They're still talking about the 2020 election, and they're championing that Trump's director of national intelligence helped raid the Fulton County election office from 2020. They want to redo the 2020 election. That's what's going on in MAGA world right here. What's going on and what's being discussed right here in so-called left-wing media or the kind of center media. Here's what's being said. Here's an article. Voters are worried about the costs of housing, but Donald Trump wants home prices to keep climbing. And this is an article that just came out. And basically, these are articles that just came out. And it's citing what Donald Trump said, that he doesn't want to lower housing prices. He wants to make sure housing prices go up and are higher so that rich people can make more money on the value of their houses and not bring the housing prices down. 0% coverage by right-wing media. They're focused on the 2020 election and Donald Trump's grievances, but when it comes to housing prices and lowering housing prices, the right-wing media doesn't want to cover it at all. I just think it's important that we have an accurate media diet during this moment. I have to stay up to date on the news all the time in order to do this podcast, and our biggest go-to news source is Ground News. You guys, this is a subscriber-funded app and news site, and every day they pull in thousands of articles from around the world, and they organize them by story, and then they show you what the right is reporting, what the center is reporting, what the left is reporting. It's a game changer because as active, responsible citizens, we must get our news from reliable sources. In Trump's America, being informed about facts and media bias is the most important thing that you can do. But that's why we love Ground News. For every article, they also tell you, did a media conglomerate put this news out or was it independent media? And they also list the degree of factuality, which is interesting as there are a lot of news sources from media conglomerates that are mixed or low factuality. Independent media seems to have a higher factuality, but you get all of that with your Ground News Vantage subscription. I especially like their blind spot feed, which highlight stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum, like this story that I just shared to you about the housing prices, as well as the right-wing stories about who's the true winner of the 2020 election. So join us by going to ground.news/MTN to get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan that I use every morning. They are subscriber funded, and so by subscribing, you're not only getting a tool we all need today, you're also supporting our work here at the MeidasTouch Network on this YouTube channel. So go to ground.news ground.news/MTN. That's ground.news/MTN. And we pinned a link to purchase your subscription below. One more time, go to ground.news/MTN and get 40% off the Ground News Vantage plan. Now, all right, now going back to Thomas Massie for a moment. Thomas Massie was asked about Donald Trump's posts about whether when Donald Trump was posting photos of former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes, and putting their face, photoshopping their face on apes and attacking Massie's wife. Here's what Massie had to say as well.
But first I want to get your reaction to the news about how the president posted then deleted this racist video depicting the Obama as apes. He has refused to apologize. Do you think he should apologize to the Obamas?
He should absolutely apologize. He's gone too far. I mean, he's attacked my wife recently online, and I do think there are limits. If for a while it's kind of funny, but once you pass certain guardrails, like attacking a man's spouse or getting into racist tropes, I think it's somebody at the White House, maybe Susie Wiles, needs to go to the president and just ask him for his phone and maybe ask him just to show him the tweet before he sends it out.
Yeah, just to follow up on your wife, because it is alarming. Multiple times he has gone after her in social media posts. I mean, how angry does that make you?
It doesn't make me angry, but it's unfair to my spouse. I mean, look, Donald Trump was giving to Democrats when my wife was working for Right to Work and Campaign for Liberty, and Rand Paul, in fact, worked in Rand Paul's office over a decade ago, back when Donald Trump was still a Democrat. So I think it's wrong. Fortunately, everything he says about her is untrue, but it's beyond the pale. And people recoil when he goes to those racist tropes or when he attacks spouses. It's just uncalled for.
Now, again, one of the reasons it's important to have an accurate media diet as well is that, Trump sends his propagandists out there who all they do is lie through their teeth over and over again. So this morning we saw Dr. Oz, and he was making his rounds, and he was on CNN with Dana Bash, and she asked him about the massive measles outbreak that's taking place right now. And Dr. Oz said, "What are you talking about? We've encouraged vaccines when it comes to measles. All we've been doing is encouraging vaccines here." So he's saying that he and RFK Jr. have been encouraging vaccines when we all know the exact opposite is true. But this is what these people do. They lie about literally everything. Here, play this clip.
Let you go ask you about a record surge in measles in the United States. South Carolina, for example, is currently reporting 800 cases. It's the worst outbreak since measles was declared eradicated more than 3 decades ago. Is this a consequence of the administration undermining support or advocacy for measles and other vaccines?
I don't believe so. We've advocated for measles vaccines all along. Secretary Kennedy's been at the very front of this movement.
Come on.
No, he is. When the first outbreak happened in Texas, he said, "Get your vaccines for measles because that's an example of an ailment that you should get vaccinated against."
And you had Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent this morning. He's asked, so is there any paperwork behind any of these deals that Donald Trump claims exist? You say that there's a trade deal with China. Is there a document that reflects that there's a trade deal? Where are these deals? And he's like, no, there's nothing, but we promise you China's bought the soybeans. Really? Because our farmers are still suffering a ton right now. So explain that to me. Show me the document. The way I show the audience the clips and the documents, Bessent, show me the document. It should be very simple. Oh, wait, no documents exist. You just have your made up data. Here, play this clip right here.
On China, our number one adversary. Do you have any estimate for us as far as when we are going to see that China trade deal in writing?
No, but I can tell you that the Chinese have lived up to their end of the bargain. They've completed their soybean purchases, and I was on the call with President Trump, Party Chair Xi, and again, very, very important, the relationship between the two leaders, and it's my belief that President Trump is the only world leader who Xi respects, and that relationship between the two of them allows for the relationship to be respectful, but we're going to be great competitors with them. We don't want to disengage, but we do need to de-risk.
I'll show you this clip as here. Then you have Republican senator from Louisiana, Senator Cassidy, as Donald Trump has now endorsed Cassidy's opponent in the primary. You know, Cassidy's the reason that we have RFK Jr. because he chairs like the health committee in the Senate, and he's the one who approved RFK Jr. to get through the committee. And, you know, there's blood on this guy's hands, but I just want you to watch as when Cassidy is asked by Manu Raju of CNN, do you regret any of that? Like, do you regret what you're doing? And then Cassidy's like, you live your life forward, brother. You live your life forward, brother. What the hell is he even talking about? Here, play this clip.
I can go down the list of things that I've done for my state, and that's what people are going to vote on.
So he's clearly upset at your vote to convict him.
You're asking me the president's motivations. Yeah. I can't comment on that, and frankly, I don't think you can either.
No, but your vote. Do you regret that vote to convict him?
My point is that, and you do a good job of this, ascribing to others their motivations. And I just don't think that's fair.
I'm asking you your vote. Do you regret your vote to convict him?
So I'm commonly asked by reporters, how do I feel and how do I regret? And all I can say, brother, is you live your life forward.
And finally, you have people who try to claim that they're like centrists, like Mike Lawler, Republican Congress member, MAGA through and through, from New York 17th Congressional District in the Rockland County area there. And he's asked, so does it make sense to you that Donald Trump is withholding critical infrastructure funds in New York and elsewhere until the infrastructure projects get named after him, or unless you name Penn Station after Donald Trump, or unless you name Dulles Airport? That's the only way Donald Trump will release funds. Otherwise, he's going to force people to suffer unless you name things after him. Like, does that make sense to you? Does it make sense to you that Donald Trump is suing the government for $10 billion and he's going to steal $10 billion of our taxpayer funds for himself? Mike Lawler, this makes sense to you? And Lawler's like, well, that's just the way government is. That's why all these Republicans are just such phony people. Here, play this clip.
This is not new. Renaming
I know, but if I can,
not a new concept.
But if I can say,
let me just finish, John.
Okay, but I mean, he's holding the money hostage for having these things named after him. I mean, this is not like part of a let's honor somebody. He wants it named after himself, and he's saying he'll unfreeze the money if they'll do it.
John, at the end of the day, to me, I really could care less what the name of a building is, a critical infrastructure project is. I care that it gets done. And ultimately, from my vantage point, work it out. These guys have been known each.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thanks for watching. New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.meidastouch.com.